I'm so happy to have Athena Vaughn here today on the podcast. Athena, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing really well. We just moved to a new state, so we're getting everything set up. Yeah, how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you. Do you mind if I ask where you moved from and where you moved to?
Yeah, so I lived in Utah my entire life, and we just moved up to Oregon. So
Nice. What
yeah.
instigated the move?
Um, Honestly, I had always wanted to move out of Utah, and I love being by the coast, but I also love the mountains. And the weather here is very different, just the change and different communities. And,
Yeah.
we just loved it. We came back here in December. So, right during like peak rain winter season.
Yeah.
And I still loved it, even though it's super rainy. So, yeah, we decided to
Cool.
move here.
Very cool. Where in Oregon?
I'm in Hillsboro. So, it's like 30 minutes outside Portland.
Portland. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. I've only been to the Eugene area, but it's so beautiful.
Oh, cool. It is.
Yeah. So
It really
beautiful.
is. Yeah. And there's so many cool parks like within walking distance that look like you're out in the mountains.
Yes.
Really
Well,
fun.
congratulations. I'm excited for your new move. That's always exciting.
Yeah, it's been great, honestly. I've only been here since Friday.
Oh,
So 5 days.
you're definitely in the honeymoon phase then with Oregon, right?
We are, yeah.
Well, that's always
We'll
a
see how
fun.
long that lasts.
Yeah, I hear you. And you're a yoga teacher, correct?
I am, yeah.
Is
I
that
teach.
if you were to put yourself in like a category of what you do and who you are, is yoga teacher a good category or is that just a part of what you do? How would you explain your work life?
Well, it's a very large part of what I do. Um, I have found yoga to be one of the most healing experiences and containers that we can be in. And then from there, I also mentor, coach people on healing. I practice and study different psychologies and yogic philosophies, and I just kind of mixed them all together, except for
Nice.
when I'm teaching yoga. I like to keep the purity there, but I do a lot of everything in the healing world.
Very cool. Are you teaching online or obviously you made a big move, so I wouldn't expect that you have a yoga teaching gig already lined up in Oregon, but what are your hopes and or plans in terms of how to conduct yoga classes?
So, what I'm planning right now, I'm like 8 months pregnant. So, I'm not currently teaching. There's a lot. I teach Kundalini Yoga, and there's a lot of Kundalini that I can't practice right now for the safety of my pregnancy.
Yes.
So, at the moment, I'm taking a little bit of a break. But when I come back into teaching, I want to teach. I like to do series. So, I'll do like a 10-week series, and I myself have dealt with CPTSD, and I'm creating um, like a series and a support system in Kundalini Yoga for those who have CPTSD and
Nice.
those who love someone with CPTSD and support them. So I'll do like 10-week series at a time, and it'll be, a few hours where I'll use different yogic philosophies coupled with different psychology and bring them together. And then we'll do some yoga together and just make a little support group.
Very
So,
cool.
yeah.
I'm not familiar with what the C stands for in front of the PTSD.
Yeah. It's it's in the DSM-5, but it is different than PTSD. So the C stands for complex CPTSD. And the difference is with CPTSD, this is for those who have pretty much been marinated in traumatic experiences for their entire lives. And when that happens, we don't get our, the only the only nervous system we get is our survival instincts. And we will deal with the trying to think of the right word, pregnancy brain. We will deal with the effects of the trauma and the abuse for our entire lives.
Mm,
But with PTSD, you can gain back your emotional equilibrium and
mm,
not deal with the side effects anymore.
wow.
So, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference.
I'm so excited to have this chance to speak with you because I'm currently reading The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of that or read that book?
I have read that. That was one of the first introductions I got with my CPTSD years ago. It's a good
And
book.
it's an amazing book. And I'm just so curious to learn more about trauma informed yoga. And I guess on that note, I mean, I hope this isn't too personal and I understand completely. You don't have to answer this question, but can you give us a little bit of insight into what caused your CPTSD?
Yeah, of course. So, first of all, I was adopted. And even though there are circumstances where adoption is really great, it still presents a lot of issues for the child. Um, Being taken away from your mother, the only source of nutrition and nurture that you have ever known, is really traumatizing. And I went to a family where there was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of neglect from parents and from older siblings. And I was just marinated in that abuse, and religious trauma came in as well. And then from there, I was also um, trigger warning, sexually assaulted as a child from a family member for years, and nothing was done about it.
Yes.
And yeah, so I was just pretty much every form of abuse a child can have happened to me in those very formative years. And it continued on even through when I became an adult. My prerogative was get out of this house. And I got into a really awful marriage and dealt with domestic violence. And that's where my first two children are from. Then we divorced and I had nowhere to go. So I had to go back to my family home,
Oh man.
and more abuse accumulated. And yeah, and I had been in therapy for years, but it never really stuck because I was too afraid to open up about my abuse.
Mm.
And so then I finally did. And that's when I found yoga. And that's what helped me the very most.
Oh wow. I mean, for you to be able to even talk about it like that has to have taken a lot of work, I'm thinking.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There was, let's see, I think 5 years ago, I got really, really into healing myself and looking into my trauma. And for about a year and a half straight, I was having between 3 to 5 panic attacks a day, just
Oh my
trying to
gosh.
heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you, how often do you have panic attacks now?
I haven't really had one for a long time, actually.
Congratulations.
Anytime I can feel myself getting my nervous system dysregulating,
Yeah.
I've got a ton of coping skills, mostly through yoga, that I use to bring myself back. So,
Amazing. I mean, something that I hear often is people say that like talk therapy maybe had some effect, but not as big of effect as yoga and meditation has for them. Have you had a similar type of experience, or would you give equal
yes,
weight to both?
I think there is a place for talk therapy for sure, and psychology, because mental health is a very real, very serious thing that we need to take care of. And as yoga teachers, I'm not licensed. I can't diagnose you. If you need a medication, I can't give that to you.
Yeah.
And for their own safety, you need to, psychology has its place, but it's definitely not enough. We need to work out the emotions and the energy of those traumas out of our bodies. And the best way to do that is through a spiritual practice like yoga.
Nice. Did you take, was your first yoga class a Kundalini yoga class, or what was your very first yoga experience?
My first was actually a vinyasa and then a hatha, and I loved them. But when I first started yoga about 10 years ago, I wasn't necessarily doing it for the spirituality. I was definitely doing the westernized approach as it's a workout.
Mm.
And then, let's see, 3.5 years ago, about, I met my Kundalini Yoga teacher. And he introduced me to the spirituality aspect. And that is when all of the healing actually opened up.
Wow.
So,
Would you say that the healing opened up? Would you attribute that to the same time period that you started to speak vocally about what had happened to you? Because I think I heard you say that there was a long period of time where you weren't able to talk about it, and then there was a shift where you were able to. Was that around about the same time?
yeah, actually, through my yoga teacher back in Utah, I met a yoga therapist, and he's also a Kundalini teacher, plus an actual psychologist. And I still see him to this day. And that's what and he uses meditation in his practice and his therapy. He uses movement. We use different, sometimes he'll have me get really vocal and like scream
Mm,
if I need to.
yeah.
And he's also a yoni therapist. So he does so many different things. And then he'll give me like meditations I can do on my own at home
Nice.
to really help me learn how to feel, which has been incredible.
Let's assume that I've never heard of Kundalini yoga before. How do you explain it?
Ooh, there's so many moving parts to it, but Kundalini is definitely not your mainstream yoga. It's not what you're going to see online if you were to search yoga.
Yeah.
With Kundalini, we use a lot of repetition. We use kriyas. So we use repetitive movements. And those repetitive movements actually help you regulate your nervous system. They trigger you into your fight or flight response. And then we come and we rest and we trigger ourselves back and learn how to move into our parasympathetic response system, which is your calm, your regulated system. And you go back and forth. And so you're learning how to switch back between the two. And it really helps. It's also considered the yoga of energy. So we're using every single chakra. A lot of different lineages I've noticed focus really heavily on the heart, throat, third eye, and crown chakras, which are beautiful chakras. But they kind of leave the bottom three hanging. And so in Kundalini Shakti being, part of your lower centers, we use that energy the entire time. And so we are balancing our lower three. And that's usually where most of our trauma is held as well.
Mm,
So Kundalini is extremely effective for those who have trauma or
nice.
addiction.
Very cool. I mean, I have a ton of questions for you. You made mention that because you're pregnant, that you've needed to stop practice your Kundalini yoga practice. Can you explain why?
So I haven't had to stop all of it. It's just when you are pregnant, you, like I said, we work out our lower three chakras a lot. And so it's a lot of abs. And when you're pregnant, you really want to keep your abs loose because your belly needs to grow and expand. And you're also going to be pushing out a baby. So you really want to strengthen your legs and your pelvic floor muscles and leave your belly to be calm and relaxed.
Yes.
So I've just had to switch a few things around. Some of the poses I just can't do because it's not safe and it hurts your stomach and it could put you into labor, like breath of fire. You can't do breath of fire, or you could start contractions. So
Yes.
there's just a few things I've had to omit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I just taught a gentle yoga class right before this podcast, and I had a woman who was 8 months pregnant, and I love it when pregnant when moms or to be moms come in, and I think it's amazing to watch, and I think like learning to do the modifications and watch the modifications, and I feel like my wife we have two children, so my wife practiced yoga all throughout her pregnancy, and so I've gotten a chance to watch her, and then the chance to work with women and watch them. And I love just seeing like what type of natural modifications are made. If there's a few like prerequisite ingredients, though, what would you advise somebody who's either thinking about becoming pregnant or currently pregnant and thinking, wow, I'd love to try yoga?
I would definitely say it depends on their workout routine. If you have been very active before you're pregnant or when you're newly pregnant, then really before about 17 weeks, you're fine. In Kundalini, we have a belief that the soul of the baby doesn't necessarily drop into your body until week 17 or
Mm.
the 120th day.
Oh,
And up
wow.
until that point, you can pretty much keep your practice the same. And then at that point, you'll notice the quickening, which is the baby dropping in. And that's when you need to switch it up. But it depends on your workout and how active you've been, because you don't want to be straining your body. You don't want to do any inversions, and you don't want to do any breath of fire because those could cause a miscarriage. So, just be safe.
Yeah.
That's it. And just listen to your body. Really listen and tune into your body. If you're feeling any pain, stop, sit down, get some water, and rest. And then it just kind of is a touch and go.
Yeah. Great
That's,
advice. Thank you.
yeah.
When you when you made mention of after your divorce and then you needed to move back into your adoptive family and you brought your children, what type of experience was like that? Like that made me that was just hard for me to just hear that in a way, just feeling for you, like in the sense of like, oh my gosh, that must have been so challenging. But at the same
It
time,
was.
if you're a mom and you have two children, you need some type of stable environment or some type of environment, period, to,
Yeah.
obviously keep the process going. Can you shed a little bit of light on what that was actually like for you?
It was I was already so traumatized anyways, but it was definitely like re-traumatizing because it was like I'd
Mm.
finally gotten away from that and knowing what I was going into and worried that it would happen to my own kids.
Yeah.
So I moved into an even more vigilant state where I was never resting. I really didn't get any sleep. My mental health really deteriorated even more because I was so watchful
Yeah.
of my kids and wasn't sure what was going to happen. And yeah, no, that was honestly probably worse than living there myself because they're your babies, you have these little ones that you birthed, you grew, you love more than anything. And you're like, great, we have to go into an abusive home because if not, we'll be on the street. And
Yes.
that's my choice right now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Man, I'm so happy for you, Athena, that you've been able to get out of that.
me too. Thank you.
That's
It
amazing.
is a really big step. Luckily, they were a lot nicer to my kids than they were to me, but they still undermined me as a parent a lot.
Yeah.
So it was really difficult. There
Yeah.
was a lot of fighting because I was like, okay, well, I'm the parent, and they wanted to be the parent. I was like, well, you're not. So
Yeah. Yeah. What was the experience like when you left their house to this last time and you took the kids? Was there a struggle, or was it like in the middle of the night type situation, or was it a situation where you could speak about it, plan, and make a move?
I actually planned it with my therapist. I
Wow.
had told him for years, like, I want to get out of this house. I want to go no contact with all of them. And I want to go to a safe place. And that's what I'm working towards.
Yeah.
And so he helped me get emotionally ready because there was so much gaslighting. It was really hard for me to be like, am I being over dramatic? Am I the crazy one? Am I everything that they say I am? And so we did a ton of work to heal my subconscious mind from them. And then from there, what happened was I met my now husband, and we slowly started moving in together. I wanted my kids to have an adjustment period because all they've known was grandma and grandpa's house. And then eventually I was able to go no contact. And my husband and his oldest son actually went to my parents' house and got my kids' things and brought them back to his place. And then I never talked to them again.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah,
I have,
it was good.
yeah, yeah.
Good adjustment period.
I have some experience in the realm of what you're talking about, personal experience as well. So even just hearing you talk about it, I have to admit it makes it's like it trigger not triggers the wrong word because I'm okay right now. But do you have a similar experience? I mean, you're doing such a great job talking about it, and not like you just seem calm. So that's pretty amazing. But I have to
It's a
admit,
lot
like
of breathing.
a lot of breathing. Okay, I'll take a
Yeah,
few deep
a
breaths.
lot of breathing. That's the trick.
Yeah. And so in your process of working with other people, can you share maybe a story or two about what the process of helping others that might be going through it is helping you as well?
You know, the whole reason I wanted to teach and help other people through their own traumas since I was about 16.
Mm,
So that's when I started studying psychology, even just on my own, because it helped me understand what was going on and what was happening to me and understanding the people that I was around.
yeah.
And so I've been really passionate about it for a really long time. And a lot of my sessions, when I start talking to someone, I like to do it on Zoom because I like to see them, is I start by watching them breathe. Because when you are dysregulated, your breath is very shallow and it's all up here in your throat and in your chest. And if you watch them, it's an indicator like, oh, they're dysregulated, they're triggered, they are hypervigilant, they're not in a window of tolerance. And then, I just ask a lot of open-ended questions and I listen. And there's little keywords that you'll notice with people who have been through especially intense trauma. And from there, you can start building, oh, okay, so this is kind of what happened. And a lot of times people don't realize that it was abuse. They think it was so normal because for us, it was normal, you know,
Yeah.
like for us, getting neglected is our normal. For us, having parents or older siblings beat you up is normal. You don't realize that it's not okay. So you just
Point.
really have to listen to those key phrases that they'll tell you.
Can you give an example of like what an open-ended question means and or one that you might
So open-ended is just, especially like when they're telling you a story. Let's say that they're sharing a traumatic experience and they completely shut down. You're just asking, what did that feel like for you? What did that look like for you in that moment? What did you do in that moment? And then they'll be able to take themselves into that moment and tell you what happened, what they did. You try to keep all the focus off of the abuser,
Mhm.
off of the person that hurt them, and bring it onto them so that they can get a new perspective of the experience.
Nice. Can you explain and or help me understand if what a trauma informed yoga class looks like to you currently with all the experience you've had?
Yeah. Personally, I'm not a teacher that likes to teach every single week because I would much rather have a series of longer classes where I am able to actually dive into what the trauma and how it shows up in our lives is. So for me, it's taking the approach of different chakras sometimes, and then other times I will dive into different body systems because trauma has a very profound impact on our nervous system, on our endocrine system, our circulatory system, on every system of our body, and our digestive system is huge. So, I like to dive into, okay, sometimes trauma will show up like GI issues. You could have IBS. You could have a really hard time eating certain foods. You could have insomnia really bad. Trauma shows up physically. And that is something they can connect to. It puts it in their head like, oh my gosh, yeah, I have these issues. Like that and it's unexplainable. I've been to all these doctors and nothing helps. They put me on all these medications that kind of do something, but not really, and again, never tell anybody to go on a medication. But from there, you can build little kriyas and meditations that they can do that hit those places of their body and will help them balance them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. In relation to like the first chakra, what's something that you would like, obviously that's our Muladhara chakra, and
Yes.
this is going to be our like base instincts and our within the realm of like survival and fight or flight. Is
Mm-hmm.
there, say, for example, if you were able to observe in a student that they're having some challenges with these sort of psychological elements, and then you said a kriya that could like address that particular body part. Can you elaborate a little further as to maybe
Mm-hmm.
what what that could mean?
Yeah. So essentially, again, the Muladhara chakra is about survival. So that actually really has to do with our sympathetic nervous system. And it's also for elimination. It eliminates toxicity in our bodies. So for that chakra, you're going to want to do kriyas for Kundalini, kriyas and meditations that have to do with elimination and that have to do with, goodness, I almost said menstruation, wrong one, that have to do with our metabolism. You want to work on your metabolism. And there's a lot of really good kriyas for those. I'm trying to think of a name right now for one, but there's so many. There's one that's just literally like kriya for metabolism. And
And
that is a great one to practice.
what is that? What is that practice?
So it has a lot of different interesting moves. A lot of it is going to be strengthening your legs and using mulband, because that's your pelvic floor. So you really want to tighten up your whole pelvic floor and use mulband a lot and really strengthen that.
Mm.
And you're going to be bending and again strengthening up your legs. And that is going to affect your Muladhara chakra.
Do you try to keep some sort of mental visualization on the emotions surrounding fight or flight and or survival, or is it
Yes.
something that you just let that go and just do the physical aspect and let the dust settle, or is it a combined
So
effort of
I always give
yeah.
options
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately I am just here to provide an experience for them. But the experience is completely up to what they want to do. So sometimes I'll say, hey, we're working on a Muladhara chakra today, and go through the list of what it can do, of the traumas that can live there, how we can relate to it, the color, everything. And I'll say, it's really great to either focus on the Muladhara chakra during this practice. You can do that by imagining, a glowing red light at the base of your spine, or, really sit in between each exercise or asana practice. We sit for about 20 seconds. And during those times, I'll say, just notice what you're feeling. If it's frustration, if you're pissed off at me, then be pissed off. If you're mad about a situation, be mad. If you need to scream, I want you to scream. If you need to cry, cry. Just whatever it is you're feeling, give yourself permission to dive in, and I'll hold you. Energetically, I will hold you.
Nice.
But it's up to
Nice.
them.
Yeah.
They don't have to do any of that, or they can do that. It's
Yeah.
their experience.
Have you had a situation where you're teaching and or leading this type of work and have a situation get out of hand where you're in underwater or over your head with maybe, I guess if somebody has experienced trauma, they're unaware of it and or they're starting to become aware of it, then all of a sudden they start doing this work and it might feel maybe for them that it's intensified. Have you had any like situations where you felt like, uh-oh, I didn't know this was going to happen, or
Yes.
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 You're like,
Healing
yes.
trauma is
Uh-huh.
intense.
Okay.
I've even been that person where it gets so intense because the pain hurts so bad. And what I learned from my teachers and from my teaching experiences is during those times, you really want to focus your energy on helping them heal and calm down with love energy. Just send it their way, get them some tissues, and then have them stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And never send them on their way ever. Not when they're in that state. It's so dangerous for them. So just have them sit, have them stop, and keep going. And then after the class, just talk to them and
Yeah.
hold space,
Got it.
and then help them calm down. And you can do that through just simple breathing. You can do it through, always ask, like, would you like a hug? Because a lot of people with trauma don't want to be touched.
Yeah.
So just ask, if it seems okay, but be careful with the boundaries of a teacher, and just talk to them,
Yeah.
let them calm down. And then once they've calmed down, I like to build them up, like you did a lot of work. And I'm sorry that it hurts that bad. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with you. You're doing beautiful. You're worthy of this. You're completely deserving. I believe you. I believe your story. I believe whatever. And just build them up and talk them up about what a great job that they did. And, if they come back, they come back. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah.
But at least you left them in a good experience and in a good state.
Nice. If I'm a new yoga teacher, I am listening to this conversation and going, whoa, nobody talked about that during my teacher training. And I don't know what I would do if I was in a situation where something like this happened. Do you think that, like, in a regular like your classic public class, maybe at a gym, or like not even like like not in a dedicated yoga space, but in a situation like where you said you first started practicing yoga, like in the vinyasa, where maybe your initial intention was for body culture, to like either get strong, or sometimes people are thinking maybe I'll lose weight and all that sort of stuff. But then that you have this switch where you start to understand the connection between the mind, the body, and the spiritual is if do you think that people that have experienced trauma that maybe aren't aware of it are going to come in touch with that with your classic, say, body culture yoga, or does that not typically happen until you're in these more trauma informed based classes where the doorway is opened up?
They could. A lot of times what happens with trauma healing, and sometimes we don't even recognize that we've been doing trauma or regulating our nervous system. Usually, like for instance, when I moved in with my now husband, I finally got to a safe place, and so did my kids. And we all slept for like a month straight, pretty much. We were exhausted.
Wow.
Because your nervous system finally regulates. So if people are not in touch with what's happening, they don't realize that, oh, wow, like I'm feeling better. So then they're like, I want to go to yoga. Like I feel really good now.
Mm,
They could come into contact with more, because once our nervous systems begin to calm and regulate, that's usually when repressed memories are like, hi, I'm going to come in now and you're going to remember me because you can handle it.
yeah.
So they could have that happen in a class.
Yep. What would you recommend to someone who's a brand new teacher, that if they are looking around the room, what are telltale signs that there's potential that somebody is not in touch with trauma and or might need special attention? Like a fidgety, a unable to look you in the eyes, a are there any like specific signs that when you see it, you go, ooh, that was me, or I really see what they're going through? Or is there anything that you can advise there?
Yeah. If you're looking at your students and watching them, you will see no eye contact for sure. Um, Fidgety with their hands. Their breathing will come back up into their chest. And they won't be able to relax any muscles. Because, with yoga, we learn how to relax different muscles, but they'll tense, they'll really like tense up like into a little bit of a ball, and they'll be breathing heavy up in their chest. And those are definite signs that, oh, something's going on. They may need to take a break, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Just talk to them,
Yeah.
have them sit down, get some water in them for sure, take care of them, have them sit and just breathe. I usually say long, deep breathing to calm them down. Or one of my favorite breaths is actually the straw breath. It's one that EMTs use. And it's where you breathe in long and deep through your nose. And then as you exhale through your mouth, even slower, as if you're blowing through a straw. So I have them use that one, and it calms you down really quick. And
Nice.
just have them sit.
Nice.
Totally feel
Okay.
better.
Great advice. Thank you so much. Have you had any experiences where you've had some sort of physical pain in your body, or what seemed like you made a list of different types of things, like say IBS or insomnia or maybe chronic headaches or something of that nature? Have you had any physical ailments that you thought, there's no way this could have anything to do with my state of mind? This has to be like a legit disease situation that's like irrelevant to my thinking processes. I'm never going to get better. And then you got better, and you made a connection between that body reaction to the either unprocessed trauma or the process of processing trauma, where you then made that connection. Have you had any of those experiences before?
Yeah, actually, I have.
Are
I've
you open
had
to talking about
insomnia
them?
before, really bad. IBS. I had a phase where I could not process any meat at all. My
Mm,
body would hurt so bad, gluten intolerance, and ovarian cysts for no reason, but they were bad. I
yeah.
would get about 9 at a time and
Oh,
have them all rupture. I would be in
oh
the
wow.
hospital, and I didn't have PCOS and I didn't have endometriosis. And so the doctors, the specialists I saw, were essentially telling me I had bad luck while ovulating, and that's all they had.
Yeah.
So, but then once
Yeah.
I started diving into my trauma and making the connections with holistic healing through yoga, all of that went away.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And when you were going through it, did you think there's no way this could just be unprocessed trauma?
Yes, because that's what we're taught essentially, is that
Yeah.
if you have physical pains or these issues, you go see a doctor, But every specialist I had been to could not give me any explanation for why, or nothing would help. And I was tired of all the medications. I
Yeah.
was tired of seeing specialists,
Yeah.
and nothing was helping.
Where do you think we draw the line then? If there's, say I have like, an earache, and I go and I get some antibiotics and it clears up. I
Mhm.
mean, do you believe, or do you think that surely there has to be some disease and or pain that is unrelated to trauma?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There always
Okay.
is. You can always
Yeah.
get
Okay.
sick.
Yeah. Of course.
Absolutely. I think
Okay.
modern medicine has its place for sure. And I don't feel like they should be separated because they're pretty much one and the same. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes it is an energetic and traumatic state, and other times you're just sick,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Good point. Do you think it's tricky to draw the line in relation to, like, so you may mention, like, say somebody, a student's practicing and they have like tension in their body and their breathing is up in their throat and or upper chest, that they, like, say somebody just had a stressful day and they're tight and they're stressed out. Where do we draw the line between someone that just had a stressful day and they're tight and someone who has legitimately suffered severe trauma?
Honestly, I don't know if I just treat them the same
Yeah.
because it's impossible to know. If I don't know you,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to know that you had a really bad day.
Yeah.
So I just treat it the same. If they're really
Cool.
struggling in the class, have them sit down, do some deep breathing with them. And for the most part, if it's just stress, they'll get back up.
Yeah.
and they'll keep going. If it's trauma, they're going to sit and they're not going to move. And they're going to be so dysregulated that they cannot move. They're going to go into a disassociative state.
Got it.
And that's kind of a tall sign. It's like, oh, there's the difference. But essentially, you just treat it the same.
Did you ever as a kid have someone tell you that you're disassociating? Was there
No, no,
no? Is that funny
no.
because what? There was no like were you ever brought to therapy? Would anyone take you to therapy when you were in that abusive environment? Or was you
Yeah,
yeah?
actually, I did. So from it, I actually had anorexia
Mm.
and I passed out at school because I hadn't
Whoa.
eaten so long.
Wow. How can I
And
ask how old you were? Like what stage
I was
where
13.
13.
13. It
Ah,
was so
Athena.
awful.
Oh my
And
gosh. So what
the
you went
crazy
so
thing is
long
like
without
my family didn't notice.
they
They
didn't
didn't notice I was wasting away. And so after that,
that's
I
what they
got put in an
claimed?
institution because
Whoa.
I was so sick.
Wow.
Um, and I started therapy, but I was so afraid to tell my therapist what was going on at home. And so she had no clue what I was experiencing because I was so terrified because I knew when I get out of here, I'm going back,
Oh
and I
gosh.
need to survive this. So if I tell them,
Oh,
I won't survive being at home again. So I just have to
whoa.
shut up and whatever they say goes.
Whoa. That's pretty intense. Do you
Yeah.
think that I guess what would be a proper terminology for me to label those that you feel like were the ones that were abusing you? Your abusers,
Yep.
your parents? I mean, what do you think? What is the preferred way for me to address them?
I just call them the abusers.
Abusers. Okay.
I,
Thank
yeah,
you.
I don't even call
Sorry.
them by their, I don't even call them mom or dad.
Sorry to tiptoe around that. I just wanted to know like what's appropriate.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think they were scared that you were going to talk when you were in that treatment facility? Do you think that they were in one part of themselves aware that they were abusive? Do you think they were so abused themselves perhaps when they were younger that they were completely unaware of what they were doing? Now that you look back on it, can you make any sense out of that?
I think it's a mix because as I've gotten older, I've noticed that they also have a lot of mental health issues. They do. There's a lot there. So they have their own issues and that projects onto everybody around them. But there was also a part of them that you can tell was conscious about it because of the way they'd smile after hurting you. It
Mm,
was like a sadistic, I'm happy I just hurt you kind of
mm,
thing, So you can
yep,
tell they were somewhat consciously aware, but also like delusional themselves
yep,
and living in a different world where that didn't happen
yep.
and what they were doing was okay.
Wow. What
Yeah.
was the next experience after what you had happened when you were 13? That was the big alarm bell. Was there another one? Because surely you didn't just go in, come out, and then, oh, okay, everything's gonna be okay now. Was there another big wake up call for them and or you?
I don't know if they've ever had a wake up call.
Fair
I
enough.
knew something was wrong
Yeah.
for a very long time.
Yeah.
And after I got out of that institution, it was more just they had drugged me up on so many medications that I didn't need. And because I didn't tell them what was going on at home, there was no way to properly diagnose me. They could not understand what was going on with me. The doctors were just as confused. They were all lost. So, but they did put me on a lot of different medications.
Yeah.
And one of my parents is very medication happy, a little bit too much. So they were fine with that. But what happened was it just clouded my mind so much that I started fawning, and just kind of doing what they said
Yeah.
because I realized I'm not getting out of here. And so I'm just going to do what they say.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to, abandon myself and just wait until I can get out.
Yep. Wow. Holy cow. That's intense, Athena.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm so thankful for you to be this honest with me. I know we're both, this is my first chance to get to meet you, and you're being kind enough to join me here. And I'm amazed at it seems to me easily you're able to share this, and that's a big deal. It seems like I can feel that you've obviously processed a lot of this. Do you feel like you're in a space where, like, can you feel that too? Are you proud of yourself? Like,
Extremely,
yeah.
extremely. I've been able to get to a place where it's like bad things happen,
Yeah.
they're, they don't really have much of an effect on me anymore. And if sharing my own story can help other people make sense of theirs, then
Yes.
that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. That's so amazing. And you
Thank you.
said that think, yeah, that is amazing. I have had a chance to speak with other people that have had really challenging situations like this. And I know how big of a deal it is to be able to say what you're saying. So I really do appreciate your honesty. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's a good space to be able to talk about it. So,
What I mean, I guess for me, another thought. Thank you for being patient with me. Is as a parent myself, how do you relate to raising kids and watching them, and then maybe wondering about the time that they were around your abusers? How do you process all that now? How do you kind of feel okay with everything and deal and move forward with that?
well, again, taking you back to just psychology, it's really easy for me to see, my kids are 8 and 6. And from a brain development standpoint, I understand where they are at. Their brains haven't even fully formed yet, like their right and left hemispheres haven't even fused together. So right now, it's very different because I get it. I know where they're at. Um, and I just try to connect to them through, hey, how are you feeling? Like, we don't see grandma and grandpa. How are you doing with that? Are you angry with me? You can be angry with me for taking you away. That's okay.
Mm,
Are you sad? I want you to be sad, and I'll help you through it. And it's really just getting them to talk about their feelings and put a name to it.
yeah.
And the more I heal and regulate my own nervous system, the better I am at helping them do the same. So it's really just what I learn and apply to myself. I kind of just apply it to them at an age appropriate state.
Nice. Great answer. I saw on your bio on your website that you have studied and or practiced polyvagal theory. Can you explain
Yeah,
that to us, please?
I love polyvagal theory. Oh my goodness, I'm such a nerd for it. So, polyvagal theory, we are working with the vagus nerve. And our vagus nerve is the longest nerve in our body, comes from our head all the way down to our bellies. And so it actually affects your stomach, any GI issues, anything down there. It'll affect your heart health, your throat, everywhere, your brain, your headaches, things like that. It'll affect. And our vagus nerve, there's 3 different states we can talk about. So we've got dorsal vagal, which is like the bottom of a little ladder. Dorsal vagal is the back of the vagus nerve, and that is like where we are completely disassociated. It's sort of like when a possum rolls over and plays dead, you
Mm,
just can't do anything. So when you're in that state, you're completely shut down. And then we go up into our sympathetic. Your sympathetic nervous system is your survival. So your fight, flight, fawn, freeze, those. And we do need that state, obviously. Like if we're about to get in a car crash, we need quick movement to stop, right? And that's your survival instinct kicking in. And then we have ventral vagal at the very top. And this is where we are able to process, where we are able to respond appropriately to the situations, and we're able to calm ourselves down. It's like the slow break, it's like the pause.
mm,
And with polyvagal theory, what you're learning how to do is move yourself up the ladder to ventral vagal over and over again. Because the more you practice moving from dorsal or sympathetic into your ventral vagal, then your ventral vagal is going to become normal for you.
Mm.
And it takes time. But essentially that's what we're doing, is we're just giving ourselves safety and connection to ourselves and to our life and the world around us that we didn't get before.
Nice. Do you feel like yoga is a tradition that was aware of the vagus nerve on either a
Yes.
deep or subconscious level, and that all the practices were pretty much around this regulation process? Is there anything that the polyvagal theory brings to the table that the yoga field might have missed out on?
Yes. They knew 100%. If they didn't have the verbalization of it, they knew what they were doing. And this is for every single lineage of yoga. Think about it. When you are doing an intense yoga flow and you're breathing through it, that is you being in an intense survival mode, but breathing yourself into a ventral vagal system, into
Wow.
calming yourself down.
Yeah.
So in yoga, you are constantly moving between the two the entire time, no matter what lineage you practice. That's what you're doing.
Mm, that's cool.
Yeah.
When is the last time that you've had a dorsal vagal experience and you've been able to go into a what was there? Is dorsal, what's the middle
That's the
one?
shutdown.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dorsal, the middle
There's
is the ventral, or this top is the ventral. So can you remind me the
So
term? You
ventral is
mentioned
the very tip top. That's your where
ventral's the
you're
top. Yeah.
processing and you're
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
Then you have sympathetic, which is the
Sympathetic.
fight or flight.
Yeah.
And then you have dorsal, which
And
is
dorsal.
completely like an animal playing dead. You can't move.
When's the last time you had a dorsal experience?
Actually, last year I had a repressed memory come up
Wow.
and it completely shut me down. And I had
Wow.
to go back into some really intensive therapy for that one.
Wow.
Yeah,
What
that's what I'm
type?
saying. Like when you get somewhere safe and your
Mm,
nervous system regulates, those repressed memories, that's when they creep back up because it knows that you're able to handle it.
yeah.
So,
I was watching a show on HBO called The 100-Foot Wave, which is about a famous pro surfer named Garrett McNamara. And he, is attempting to surf the largest wave in the world. And it takes place off the coast of Portugal at a place called Nazaré, where they have these massive waves. And so they were just starting to analyze a little bit about, like, well, why would someone do this? Like, why would someone put them in this really dangerous environment to try to, you know, be challenged in that way? And then they went back into his childhood a little bit and they showed some of the stuff that he had to go through. And it's like, interesting, and he made mention that I feel like I have these memories that are on hard drives that are so far back there that I can't access that information. And when I heard that, I thought that's a really interesting way to look at it, or just the thought, because we can relate to computers maybe nowadays. Do you have any other insights into how that works? And obviously you've experienced that. Like, that's incredible that you had this, where you were in a safe space and you just got floored again and had to go into therapy to kind of process some of that memory. Can you give us any more insight into what that experience is like, and or what if I want to access that deep stuff that I'm wondering, is it there? Is there
yeah.
something that we can do that's going to help us to get there?
Yeah. First of all, I would suggest really working on regulating your nervous system, really working with the polyvagal theory and working with your vagus nerve. And there's so many different ways to do that. I
Mm,
would really suggest, first of all, getting a strong foundation with healing and regulating yourself. And meditation is actually a very, very beautiful tool because meditation will help you access your subconscious. So when you're meditating, what can happen if you just, if you're doing it long enough or whatever, however long it takes you, doing it over and over and over again, keep practicing. Eventually, you're going to have, feelings and thoughts come in and out, and you can track those thoughts. And I also love to use what I call life cycles and mind mapping, where I will break my life up into chunks and look at who I was around at that time, where I was living, prominent people in my life, and look at the thoughts or what they said to me, what they said about me, what beliefs that created for me, and any big events or just even small events that happened, because that'll show you where your trauma is. And from there, that opens up a doorway for your subconscious to start to come through. And that's what you got to do. There's tons of different doorways that you can use to open things. And so it's really good to have a well-rounded either therapist or a well-rounded mentor or coach or teacher who can give you all these different ways to access what you want. And eventually one of those doorways is going to open you up, and then you just want to roll with it.
Yeah. Very cool. Can you talk a little bit about if myself and or the listener would like to work with you? How do we do that?
So currently, because I'm super pregnant, but I
Look,
have
I'm super pregnant right now, so just give me a little time. Yeah.
exactly. Once I
Understood.
get through the birth and the healing, then I'm going to open up my space again for one-on-one clients where I can help. And we'll do like a mentorship for at least 4 to 6 months. You can always add on more. Or, if you're in Oregon, you can find me teaching at some point after the birth. But right now I have a self-study course. It's called Your Reclamation. And it's actually the perfect step for someone who wants to begin this process. We go through, I chunked it in by weeks. So it's 8 weeks long. You can do it, since it's self-study, you can take as long as you need to. That's what I love about self-studies, but we will go through in depth your nervous system, polyvagal, your subconscious, life map and mind mapping, body mapping. We'll map your trauma in here and physically. And there's a lot of information. And on top of that, I have worksheets on there that I created. I have little tables that you can use and print off so that you can figure out which sympathetic state you're in. If you're in fight, flight, stuff like that, we'll go into great detail about each one and ways to help bring yourself out of them. I've got 60 trauma-informed affirmations that you can begin to use. We'll work with your inner critic. We work with your inner child. We work with your wounded inner teen. And I have tons of meditations on there that you can use. So yeah, it's a lot. That's why I'm saying take it slow.
Yeah.
Because your reclamation is just jam-packed with everything that you're going to need to get started. So
Is this
that is
a digital course as well? That's on
yeah,
like
so it's
a
online.
Teachable?
I
Is it like a
recorded
Teachable
it, so you'll see
platform?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recorded it. So
Nice.
you'll see me, and I just talk, and I broke it down into chunks. So even though it's a lot of information, I did simplify it. And then I'm also giving resources for trauma specialists, like real psychologists and psychiatrists, from where I got a lot of my own studies. And then, yeah, so it's a mix of psychology, polyvagal theory, nervous system regulation, and spiritual practices that can help you heal and move the energy out of your body. So it's everything
Amazing.
blended.
That's incredible, Athena. How long did it take you? Obviously, this is your life's work, but from the day that you decided this is what I'm going to do, how long did it take you to put all that together?
A while, a
Okay,
few
fair enough.
months.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I knew what I wanted, and I was like, I got to break this up, make it bite sizable, make it
Yeah.
digestible.
Yeah.
So I wrote out what I wanted to say each week, and then looked it over again, edited it, broke it down a little bit easier. So even though it's a lot of information, it's very easy, and I leave room for whoever is in the course to do their own research as well and give them the resources to do so, because I think it's really important to also not just take a course, but to also do your own research.
Have you had a testimonial of someone that went through it and called you or wrote you and said, wow, thank you?
Yeah, actually, I have. She's amazing. She's been doing a lot better in her life, and she actually wants to work with me again in a little while, do another mentorship as well on top of
Very
it.
cool. That's got to feel really good.
It does. It does. And, I try really hard to keep what people say private to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
as well as when I'm in a space with others and I'm teaching, make sure that everything is, I just view these healing containers as very sacred. So I do try to keep what they say private, but it's all been really good feedback.
Very cool. This time went by so fast, Athena, and I feel like I could keep going, but I want to respect your space in the attempt to start to steer us toward closing our session together. Is there anything that I might have missed out on in asking you about? Is there anything else that comes to mind that you are wanting to share?
No, nothing's coming to mind. I think we pretty much covered it. I wanted to, the trauma, the nervous system regulation, how to help yourself and other teachers, giving them a little bit of guidance. I think
Yeah,
that's about it. I think we did a
that's
really good
cool.
job.
Oh man. I mean, I was so excited. When I got a chance to chat with you via email very briefly before we met up, I know how you can just kind of feel from someone just on a really quick email, even like that. Basically, long story short, I was excited to meet with you. You were very kind, very sweet in our email um,
Thank you.
correspondence. So, and like that's just kind of like a feeling that happens. Do you know what I mean? Like so
Yeah.
I was like, I was excited. I was excited for today. I was like, I can't wait to get this chance to actually meet you. And it's even been better than what I hoped. And I feel like you're extremely clear and very thoughtful. And I can tell that you've gone through some stuff, but the way that you've been able to just explain all that and communicate it is pretty amazing. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're busy. You have a lot going on, and I'm so excited that you're in a safe space and a
Thank
brand
you.
new move in a beautiful part of the country. Oregon is so
Mhm.
amazing. So I'm just
It
really
is.
happy for you, Athena. I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see what evolves for you here.
Thank you so much. I was really excited as well when you reached out. Yeah, your yoga studio and how long you guys have been teaching together is really inspiring, you and your wife. I
Oh,
love
thanks,
it.
Athena. Thank you. Well, we'll just keep going here. I mean, I think the world could go through some sort of healing phase where maybe we can minimize these sort of challenges somehow if we speak openly like you did. So I
I
don't know.
agree with that
I think this is a push
completely.
forward. This is
Yeah,
a
well,
move
so many of these
forward.
topics are taboo, and like people don't
Yeah.
want to talk about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, how are we going to help other people feel less alone and less victimized if we
Yeah.
don't stand up and talk about it?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Like it's not a fun topic, but it happens every day.
Yeah.
So it's something that needs to be spoken about and also something that needs to be guided through. You've got to
Yeah.
guide other people and help
Yeah.
other people. And then that's going to have a ripple effect.
That's a good point. Do you think, like, say, in the process of me putting the message out about this podcast, that it is a good idea or an unnecessary idea to say, be warned, this topic is challenging? Or do you think, no, don't do that? Like, just put it out there. Do you know what I mean? Like obviously
Yeah.
if someone started listening, they're like, whoa, this is way heavier than I was expecting. I just wanted a rosy walk down the sidewalk. They'll turn it off, right? So I
Mhm.
mean, is there a need to preface like, be warned, everybody, some of the things that you're about to hear? Or like what do you think about that? I don't know that it matters, but it did cross my mind a little bit during our
Yeah.
conversation. Like, I wonder if I should let people know, like, Athena's about to share some challenging stuff that might be challenging for you to hear. You know, like when we're watching a TV show and they're like,
Yeah.
get ready, you're watching the news, some of the images you're about to see. And I think that's probably
Yeah.
important too, right? Like that, like if kids are watching, we want to let them
Yeah.
know. And I always mark all of my podcasts. I check the explicit box, like even if you don't say a bad word or like just to like,
Mhm.
okay, if there's kids, like this is what we're talking about might be something that we want to just like, parent it or, make sure they're they're aware of what they're getting into. Any thoughts around that?
Yeah. I usually do put a trigger warning, but
Yeah.
I also feel like it's important to try and take the fear out of the
Yeah.
trigger,
I guess that's what I was trying to figure
because
out. Yeah.
yeah, it's good
Mm.
to put it out there because some people may not be ready to hear. However, there's really nothing, there shouldn't be a fear surrounding
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah.
I usually just like a trigger warning, talking about trauma, different various traumas, and
Cool.
it's usually about it. Except for
Cool.
with the sexual abuse, that's where I actually put like trigger warning. We're talking like sexual abuse is brought up,
Yeah.
but I know
Okay.
how hard that one can be.
Okay. Good point.
But
Thank you for that
it's not
advice.
like I go
Yeah.
into details. So
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like no details were actually shared. It's just mentioned. So a mention of this. Oh, that is a loud train.
I
I'm so
heard that.
sorry.
I know I'm not real close to the train tracks here, but I was like, whoa, I wonder if I am all of a sudden like
Yeah, I know that was loud. I'm not used to that.
right. That hopefully that doesn't go off at 3 o'clock in the morning tonight. Yeah.
I Yeah, I haven't noticed quite yet. We'll see.
Oh man. Well, Athena, thank you so much. I can't wait to get a chance to work with you and continue to watch your journey. So I really appreciate this.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate being on here. It was great. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.